Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Eye, with your host, The Eye. Today we will continue with the final installment of this JFK assassination theory. There will be others. In this episode, Legacy of the Cover-Up, Mafia Shadows and the Birth of Deep State Distrust. Welcome back to this final chapter of our JFK assassination series on The Eye. I am your host, The Eye, and in this episode, we've walked through the CIA's grudge after Bay of Pigs, Oswald's tangled enigma, the grassy knoll echoes, and the Warren Commission's rushed web of half-truths. Today, we close the circle by focusing on the mafia connections that were deliberately downplayed or buried, and how that very burial created the enduring legacy of government distrust that still shapes conservative thinking in 2026. Let's be clear from the start. No smoking gun document has ever surfaced proving the National Crime Syndicate as a whole ordered the hit. The 1979 House Select Committee on Assassinations looked hard and concluded the Mafia, as an organization, was probably not involved. But the committee also said it could not rule out individual mobsters acting on personal motives. And the evidence of those motives and the frantic effort to hide them is what makes this chapter so damning. Start with Kennedy's very public war on organized crime. As Attorney General, Robert F. Kennedy made crushing the Mafia his personal crusade. He targeted Jimmy Hoffa of the Teamsters, Sam Giancana in Chicago, and especially Carlos Marcello, the powerful New Orleans boss. Marcello had been deported once, only to sneak back. RFK's Justice Department kept him in legal crosshairs. At the same time, Santo Traficante Jr. in Tampa and Florida had lost a fortune when Castro shut down the Havana casinos in 1959. These weren't abstract grudges. These men felt personally betrayed. Here's where it gets darker. In the early 1960s, the CIA secretly recruited top mafia figures, Giancana, Johnny Roselli, and Traficante, to assassinate Fidel Castro. The mob had the networks inside Cuba. The CIA had the deniability. Declassified memos, including fresh 2025 releases ordered by President Trump, confirm the collaboration. One footnote even notes RFK demanding to be told before the CIA worked with the Mafia again. The Kennedys were using the mob to get Castro, while simultaneously prosecuting them at home. To men like Marcello and Traficante, that smelled like a double cross of historic proportions. Now enter Jack Ruby, the Dallas nightclub owner who silenced Lee Harvey Oswald 2 days after the assassination on live television. Ruby wasn't some random strip club guy. Phone records, witness statements, and HSCA findings show repeated contacts with Marcello associates, Traficante lieutenants, and Chicago outfit figures. He made dozens of suspicious calls in the weeks before November 22nd. After the shooting, he told friends he had to do it to spare Jackie Kennedy the pain of a trial. Many patriots have never bought that sentimental story. Ruby had money problems, mob debts, and a history of doing favors for the underworld. Killing the only man who could talk was the perfect way to close the circle. The Warren Commission barely touched any of this. They accepted the FBI's assurance that Ruby had no significant organized crime ties, despite evidence to the contrary. They never pressed the CIA on the Castro plots. When the agency finally admitted those plots years later, it became obvious the commission was kept in the dark about explosive information that could have pointed investigators straight at possible mafia retaliation. Earl Warren himself later admitted the commission operated under enormous pressure to deliver a quick, clean report that would calm a grieving nation and avoid international crisis. But calming the nation meant burying inconvenient truths. That burial is the real legacy. Because the official story left so many questions unanswered. Why hide the CIA-Mafia alliance? Why soft-pedal Ruby's mob connections? Why ignore Marcello's public rage at the Kennedys? Americans began to lose faith in every institution that touched the case. The 1979 HSCA finding of probable conspiracy only widened the crack. Books like David Scheim's Contract on America laid out the mob motive case in painstaking detail. Right-leaning voices saw the pattern repeating. Powerful interests protected themselves at the expense of truth. Fast forward to today, the partial document releases of 2023 to 2025 under President Trump have confirmed more CIA mafia contacts, more Ruby phone call traffic, and more internal agency hand-wringing. Yet full transparency is still withheld until at least 2029 for some files. To many conservatives, that delay isn't about national security anymore. It's about protecting the narrative that the government always tells us the truth. This is how the deep state concept was born for a generation of patriots, not as a wild-eyed fantasy, but as a reasonable suspicion born from proven deceit. If the Warren Commission could omit explosive mafia and CIA links to give the public a tidy, lone nut story, what else have we been asked to accept on faith? The same instinct drives skepticism towards later scandals. Epstein's client list still trickling out. Intelligence community behavior in recent elections. Endless, for your own good, secrecy. The legacy isn't that the mafia definitely killed Kennedy. The legacy is that the cover-up succeeded in one way and failed spectacularly in another. It protected short-term stability, but it destroyed long-term trust. Every time a new document drops and reveals another withheld connection, the old wound reopens. And that wound taught millions of good Americans to question official narratives, demand sunlight, and refuse to outsource their thinking to blue ribbon panels. So as we close this 6-episode journey, remember this. The grassy knoll may still be in the shadow, Oswald's motives may remain enigmatic, and the Warren Report may still sit on library shelves collecting dust. But the real story that endures is how a single day in Dallas, and the clumsy, self-serving attempt to explain it, taught a nation that power fears the truth more than it fears exposure. Thank you for traveling with the eye through these shadows. Stay vigilant, keep demanding transparency, and never let anyone tell you that questioning authority is unpatriotic. It's the most American thing to do. This has been the final episode of your JFK series for now. Until next time, keep your eyes wide open. God bless you, and God bless America.